and gentlemen, last week, this time, we told you that the Prime Minister was holding assessment meetings to actually give the proper report card to every minister in his cabinet to find out the agenda, the goals and the objectives they'd set up and what had been fulfilled, where ideas were lacking, where there were implementation problems. And we told you then that it will take about a couple of weeks maybe before the Prime Minister will be ready to do his cabinet reshuffle. And this exercise began with those assessment meetings. Tonight, we can report to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the countdown to the cabinet reshuffle has begun. It's been a rush hour at Prime Minister Modi's residence for the past 1 week, from holding meetings with chief ministers to deliberations with union ministers to long-hour discussions with BJP President Mr. JP Nadda. All this hints at a big shake-up in the cabinet, which is on its way. The Modi cabinet might see induction of several new faces, and sources indicate the representation of members from poll-bound states might go up. Let's have a look at the probables, which is always the most interesting part of any cabinet reshuffle. Fresh faces for the renewed Sarkar, that is what all eyes are on. I can share with you some names that seem to be on the verge of being finalized, because this is a result of several rounds of parleys between the top-notch ministers, the BJP president, chief ministers and the Prime Minister himself. Jyotiraditya Scindia, he toppled the Kamalnath government in Madhya Pradesh, played a key role in the by-elections victories of 19 out of 28 seats last year, and he has been waiting in the wings, needs to be rewarded, and of course has the qualifications and the erudition to actually hold a sensitive charge, an important charge, was a power minister in the UPA government. Dinesh Trivedi, next man, once Mamata's close aide, joined the BJP ahead of the Bengal polls, has served, has experience of a railways minister in the Manmohan Singh cabinet, and he is very well spoken and well knit with Prime Minister and Mr. Amit Shah. Remember, he's also a Gujarati who actually lived in West Bengal and did his politics there. Bhupendra Yadav, extremely important man, the most important general secretary in the party office, has been working tirelessly behind the scenes. Don't forget, he's a senior lawyer, understands legal situations, was running a law firm as well, and has delivered several victories, and is known to tirelessly work and carry out whatever is given to him in terms of an assignment. Also, man behind BJP's success in Bihar as well as the Hyderabad local body elections, which has made BJP a poster boy or a probable in the next state elections of Telangana. One lesser known person, Ashwini Vaishnav, used to be a former private secretary to the former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, IAS officer. In fact, the BJP had sought help from Naveen Patnaik to get this man in, young IAS officer, got support from Naveen Patnaik, who did not oppose his candidature, even though the BJP did not have the full requisite amount of seats or votes for him. He's a man from Odisha, can come in, make a difference, because this will be an important part that he plays as somebody who can translate and be a very important person in implementation of the Prime Minister's ideas as well as the government's agenda. And one man, high profile, Varun Gandhi, cousin of Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, has been waiting in the wings. In 2014, his mother, Menaka Gandhi, had got a cabinet berth. Now she's been out. In fact, she gave her seat away to Varun Gandhi in Pilibhit, known to be extremely connected with the grassroots of what's going on in Uttar Pradesh. Remember, Uttar Pradesh is the state going to polls, and therefore he is going to be a very, very crucial name, a crucial entrant. If he makes the cut, the name really right on top of the agenda. And one man who had the entire parliament listening when he made his debut speech in parliament, Jamyang Sering Namgyal, the member of parliament, Lok Sabha member of parliament from Ladakh. And Kashmir, Ladakh have the importance, and since Article 370's abrogation, this man could come in. He helped create dominance in Ladakh Hill Council, and being the kind of speaker and communicator he is, he might find his space in the Prime Minister's expanded cabinet. Well, these are some names. More names will keep coming up. We are being told 20th, 21st is when the auspicious period begins, and anytime next week, the cabinet reshuffle can be on its way. And there are ministers who have multiple portfolios, and some of them could actually shed some portfolios. But what most people are talking about these days is that this is not going to be a limited cabinet reshuffle. It is going to be a big one, even though Raisina Hill and the top cabinet committee of security, which consists of Home Minister, other than the Prime Minister, of course, the Home Minister, the Defence Minister, the Finance Minister, unlikely to see a change. So these four will remain where they are, but down the line, there will be a lot of musical chairs that will be played. Well, those are the names, and some names of multiple portfolios out there on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be happening, we are being told, sometime next week. In fact, when we teased this show, I got calls from some ministers if the cabinet reshuffle information came to me before it did to Rashtrapati Bhavan. Well, I'm not making any of those claims. But as I said, a reporter at heart, we told you last week the assessment meetings have begun, and since then you've seen the follow-up of that story and the follow-up of all of those meetings happening. So all we are saying is, yes, the cabinet reshuffle has to happen. Timing, well, it's the Prime Minister's prerogative. Who will come in or go out is the Prime Minister's prerogative. But what he needs to do is the prerogative of the Janta Janardhan, as they are called, or the citizens of India. And therefore, tonight, we're asking the legitimate question on the News Hour. What will be the focus of the Prime Minister's new cabinet reshuffle? Because that's the agenda that he will be thinking about 24/7 in the run-up to this cabinet reshuffle. And that is the debate coming up on the other side. Cabinet reshuffle scoop. That's the hashtag and the debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Suhail Seth, columnist, Sanjay Jha, author, R. Jagannathan, editorial director of Swarajya. But my first question goes to Mr. Mohandas Pai, chairman of RN Capital Partners. And Mohandas Pai, what according to you is the Prime Minister's new agenda? Because he's going to be looking at a very promising budget that came in on the 1st of February. But since then, before implementation could really begin in right earnest at the beginning of the new financial year in April, the fact is that the second wave of COVID overtook and just left us completely overwhelmed. And therefore, not much of this has translated into achievements that can show. And it will be very important for the finance minister as well as the Prime Minister that all the agenda that had been put in that budget is translated, implemented, and its impact is seen on the ground. Where do you think his priorities will be, and what will he be looking at through this cabinet reshuffle?
Navika, as a citizen of this country, my view is I would like my Prime Minister to ensure in the next 3 years that economic growth is revived at the highest level and crores of jobs are created because people have lost jobs, they lost income, and they deserve to have a break. And economic growth has to precede everything else. Point number one. Point number two, he needs to have an effective cabinet to carry out all the decisions of the cabinet to make sure all the social schemes that have been announced by him, the benefits percolate to people. Some more schemes, I'm sure, is announced on August 15, and that has to be done. And the third thing is to make sure that the political aspect of the UP elections are going to happen. UP elections are going to happen early next year. And I would say that they must focus on UP to make sure all the programs are implemented and the people see the benefits and the people's mood changes, jobs are being created. And the last point I would say is he must also make sure that he strengthens the party to make sure that the 2024 elections, they win with a thumping majority. An effective cabinet to revive the economy, create jobs, to carry out all the benefits and give them and make sure people see hope and people see benefits time and rise in income, and a very, very effective political team to prepare the ground for the 2024 elections. Because in my personal view as a citizen, it's very important that Prime Minister Narendra Modi comes back at that point of time to make sure that India becomes something very different for everybody in this country.
Well, let me also get in Mr. Suhail Seth, who's joining the show. And Suhail Seth, where do you think the Prime Minister would be looking at his government, his image, his government's image, its delivery, as well as the implementation of all that was so important in terms of the promises made to the people of India in the election that he won with a roaring majority in 2019? And where is he vis-a-vis that agenda right now?
I think he is like a ship in the night. It sails, but no one sees it. So obviously he's working very hard, but we don't know. The healthcare system has collapsed. The infrastructure is not there. But what you said very interestingly and what Mohandas alluded to is a very important point. This government has done some good, but its communication is woefully inadequate. In fact, it borders on the miserable. So the first thing he must do, and I'm not aligned to any political party, first thing he must do is put Prakash Javadekar in charge of, animal husbandry or housing or something like that, and get a Smriti Irani or someone who understands communication. So I&B is a critical thing because you can't communicate.
Let's not be personal. Suhail Seth.
I won't be personal. Fine. So these are the things that you have to look out for as a Prime Minister. Where have you gone wrong? A, you have gone wrong in terms of communicating what you've done. So you need a communicator in your government. B, as Mohandas said, you need someone who has the gravitas, the authority, and the will to create, to my mind, an economic revolution that this country so desperately needs. Number three, you need people who are both empathetic and are in command of the situation. See, let's not fool around with each other. Navika, the truth is this Prime Minister trusts the bureaucracy more than he trusts his Council of Ministers. So if he changes his Council of Ministers and continues to rely only on the bureaucracy, nothing will change. It'll be like Operation Successful, patient dead. So the choice that he has to make is, will he be willing to allow his ministers to call the shots? Let me give you an example. Piyush Goyal has done a good job with Ministry of Commerce. Ravi Shankar Prasad, they say, has done a good job. Both the ministers in certain areas have been NPAs. For instance, look at the fracas with Amazon, Flipkart. Look at the fracas now with Twitter. So the point I'm making is you need ministers with gravitas, with control, with efficiency, and with efficacy. The fourth point, and here this is a very important point.
No. Let me come in on that. Let me come in on the fact of Flipkart and Amazon and Twitter. Are you saying these ministers were acting on their own and they did not have the Prime Minister's backing? Are you saying they have been acting independently? What's the point that you're making?
Which ministers?
And then what needs to be corrected? Why don't you tell our viewers?
Which ministers? My view, Navika,
You spoke
is...
about Amazon, Flipkart.
Yeah, so my view is that Mr. Modi has been let down largely by the bureaucracy. You ask anyone, see, publicly, every industrialist, every corporate leader will say, "Nahi, sab theek hai, sab theek hai." Privately, they will abuse you. I'm giving you a long-term solution. The names that you mentioned are impeccable names. I'm deeply, as a citizen of this country, look at the fantastic job. Now, people will say whatever they have to say. Look at the job that Nirmala Sitharaman has done. She has done it with grace, with gravitas, and with impeccable integrity. Look at Rajnath Singh. Look at Amit Shah. So you've got great performers. I'm saying Piyush is a great performer. My point is, when you induct new people, you have to do three things that India desperately needs. It needs a complete overhauling of economic impetus. It needs a complete overhauling of the communication process, and it certainly needs a complete overhauling of healthcare. Here we need people who will deliver. The Prime Minister must choose those people that he trusts and not people who will be watched over by some bureaucrat or the other. That's my limited argument in my opening remarks.
Fair point, and those are the points that we've even listed out. Definitely, economic growth has, the COVID-19 pandemic has taken its toll on the growth. Even before that, we were in a slowdown situation and preceded by, the demo situation. So, the economy is actually on a ventilator, and if they found a ventilator at this time. So the economy is a huge concern, number one. Number two, of course, employment is a huge problem, not just the Manrega kind of employment, the kind of employment that middle classes, the educated classes are looking forward to. There are millions of students who pass out of colleges, whether colleges are held online or not. The fact is that there is this huge resource pool that comes out into the job market. Are there enough jobs for them? Skilling, great idea, great initiative. Where is it? Is it languishing somewhere, or does it need a kind of importance that was given to it by giving it as somebody from back of beyond coming and handling it, or does it require expertise of a very high nature? These are some of the issues. The education system.
Tourism.
1.5 years we've had. We have had tourism. तो COVID के ज़माने में था ही नहीं. But education तो था. Children needed education. There have been no online classes in universities. Schools have done better than universities have, and that is a huge problem. That is a huge problem and needs an overhaul. So Sanjay Jha, I want to ask you that there is a lot to be done. There must have been some of the milestones that have been achieved, political agenda and reforms process, but there have been hiccups on the way of economic growth. Isn't that going to be the topmost priority in the infrastructure sector, in the education sector, as well as in projects that actually create jobs?
Navika, the biggest mistake that we can make once again is to take our eye off the massive problem that is not yet behind us. If you look at the numbers of the pandemic, they are still raging. Now, they may have come down from the peak of April, but India still remains in the red category, and there's a reason behind that. Our vaccination, no matter how much we are able to ramp up from now on, is not going to ensure the coverage of the targeted population almost to the year end. So you are talking, Navika, of a fairly, what I would call as a dicey situation, because, already Maharashtra or Mumbai is preparing for an imminent third wave simply because although you had a lockdown, you only deferred a problem and you could not vaccinate enough people. So I think one of the most intriguing aspects of Mr. Modi's government has been this. Why did the government not understand that by investing 25,000 or 35,000 crores in vaccines, boosting the manufacturers, your return on investment would have been over 5,000% because people would have been vaccinated. The working force would have been back in their offices without worrying about any fear of infection. And probably at this time, India would have been riding a vertical wave, not the ventilator wave. And I think that is something that this government needs to address. And I want to say this upfront, that when you're talking of economic growth, I would say, Navika, the most disconcerting, disturbing number are two. Number one, the loss of jobs, and not just in rural India, where Manrega is buffering it up to some extent, but urban India is extremely devastated. Many of them were in the gig economy. They have moved from the permanent to the gig economy. And those in the gig economy are literally hand to mouth. Now, as far as poverty is concerned, look at the numbers. The number of people who had risen above the poverty line has now gone up significantly because of the loss of income. They have gone down below the poverty line. And I think, therefore, the most critical agenda for the government, in my opinion, is keep investing at the moment in health infrastructure and vaccines till India is able to breathe again. Please don't forget, Navika, I know my daughter is supposed to go to the UK for her master's, and she missed it last year. And I'm worried even this year because the UK is seeing a return of a wave despite vaccinating over 60% of its population. So we are not over the crisis period yet. Let's take a deep breath and do not ignore that hard, sickening reality.
We are not. Sure, we are not. Sure, we are not. But I wish maybe if Congress leaders don't speak with you, you can write them a mail or a WhatsApp and tell them not to spread vaccine hesitancy by bringing up issues of cow serum being present in co-vaccine. So why don't you do something for the country? But Suhail and Mohandas Pai both want to come in before I go to Jaggi. Suhail, first you.
Look, there is no denying the fact that our healthcare infrastructure needs to be revamped and needs to be raised beyond any recognizable existing bar. Number two, the government needs to stop being in denial. I don't know, because see, the Prime Minister is an astute politician. He's not stupid. He's not, a novice. Either the feedback mechanism in this government has collapsed, or people are scared to tell him, or perhaps he doesn't know. So the one quality of ministerial revamping that must exist is where people can give him honest feedback. And my only other point at this stage, taking off from what Sanjay said, and I mentioned healthcare in my opening remarks, is look, the pandemic, what happened in the past has happened. We are here discussing how does India move forward. India cannot move forward if both Jaan and Jahan, as the Prime Minister famously said, are threatened. Today you have a situation of life and livelihood. Both need to be addressed with equal aplomb. That will only happen if you have good people, integrity-driven and firm doing the job. Just like Nitin Gadkari is doing his job. See, I'm taking names only in an illustrative manner. You know, I don't know Nitin Gadkari or know someone else or know someone else. The point I'm making is you need people who will get the job done. The tragedy is the Prime Minister, poor chap, is being saddled with everything. Now, either it is of his own volition or he doesn't trust anyone. But that also has to change. One man cannot run this country all by himself. A, it is unfair on him. B, it is unfair then on having a council of ministers.
Do you get that feeling, Mohandas Pai, that the Prime Minister is running everything himself? The point that Suhail Seth is making, that he trusts bureaucrats more than he trusts his ministers. Are these perceptions without facts? Or is this something that people like you who meet the Prime Minister in various meetings, take away from these meetings?
No, Navika, I don't believe that the Prime Minister alone is running this country. We got so many good ministers. Suhail spoke about Nirmala Sitharaman. He spoke about Nitin Gadkari. He spoke about Piyush Goyal. He spoke about R.S. Prasad. He wanted Smriti Irani there. They're all running the government. They're all doing a good job. But the fact is, I would like my government to demonstrate that the political leaders are in charge and not the bureaucracy. And that I'm very sure, because we have elected the political leaders to power. We've elected the NDA government to power as a citizen. We don't want bureaucrats to run. We want the political leaders. I know many cases where the ministers have listened to us. They say it's a good idea, but the bureaucrats have not listened. For example, I was part of a budget meeting where the finance minister came. We made many good suggestions. There were 400 people there, and we have studied the matter for many days and made the suggestion. We had the finance secretary laughing at us. He just laughed and didn't write down all the suggestions. They never replied to us. They don't care a damn. They don't respond to you because their job is not on the line. Look at the health ministry now in the COVID. I mean, shouldn't you have set up this committee at the health bureaucracy? You know very well second wave is going to come. You must monitor it. You must prepare for it. You must advise the state government. And you must get everything in place. What did they do? They took their eye off the ball. Now, the whole thing is a mess and people have lost their lives. And now everybody is blaming the Prime Minister, the political leaders. Even Sanjay will blame the Prime Minister and things. But what Sanjay says is very correct. The focus on vaccination should not go. Vaccination should go at high speed. We must make sure people are safe to work. But economically, if you don't push the economy now, you will not get the results for the next 1 or 2 years. First quarter is gone. First quarter is down. I'm sure Jaggi will give you all the figures. First quarter is gone. So we want the second quarter, third quarter to be good. We want the next year to be good. And the next year after, we could have a drought. Because, the monsoon is very good this year and last year. Next year, the monsoon may not be good because the odds are against it. So vaccination has to go on simultaneously, economic revival, strong communication, and the political leaders should be in the front, and the bureaucracy should not be seen as driving. I know for sure the Prime Minister will not let any bureaucrat override him. He's a very powerful man. He does what he thinks is best interest of this country. But people in this country have a feeling that the bureaucrats are overriding ministers in many ministries, and I think that's a very wrong perception which needs to be corrected.
So there you are.
Well,
that is a perception.
Jaggi, where do you think there are many suggestions that have come in? There is consensus on the fact that the economy needs attention. Everybody is, absolutely in agreement on the fact health needs attention, and I would say health services need to be separated from health infrastructure, because health infrastructure is a totally different ball game. Health facilities are a different ball game. There has to be a separation of these two issues. And if you look at Hindi heartland, and let's look at the economy doesn't work in a vacuum. There is a political economy that one has to think about, and Hindi heartland is where the support base is. Look at Bihar, look at Uttar Pradesh going to polls, look at Uttarakhand. These are areas which need health infrastructure first, doctors second. The fact of the matter is, Jaggi, along with economic growth, how do you address these issues? Because communication, according to me, can happen. You can put in as many number of communicators on the job when actually there is something to say about the achievements. Without it, you don't know what to communicate. You can't communicate during the worst part of the second wave. So, Jaggi, what do you think must be going on in the Prime Minister's mind at this point?
I think, as you said, the two things that will be topmost in his mind, apart from the politics about UP and winning all those things, I think what we said here, the health and the economy are the two uppermost things in his mind. And coming from 2024, he has said, just like you had Ujjwala and Jan Dhan in the first term, this time you will have Nal Pe Jal. That is the central theme, that where you reach water to every house. That's at the social front. My thing is, economics and health actually are working in the same direction. If you want a lot of jobs, you have to invest in health. That is one sector where jobs are bound to explode given the sheer amount of deficit in healthcare, infrastructure, and people deficit that we have. Not only the southern states are better off, but all the northern states, each of them is a potential $1 trillion economy in the next 5 years if you got health and education right. If Uttar Pradesh and Bihar are able to go above the average Indian growth rate by investing in these two sectors and these two alone, you don't have to get a defense corridor in UP. But if you get your health policy right, your health infrastructure right, your education infrastructure right, and these two things, I'm telling you, to create both jobs, it will boost the economy. And throughout the world, it's been held actually. Whichever country has invested in health and education automatically sees a growth in every other sector, because these two sectors feed, one takes care of your physical health, another makes sure you're skilled and you have the basic skills, the 3 R's and plus C, that is coding now. Once you learn all that, you can find your jobs. And jobs will not come in big companies. they will come in startups, which means you must get rid of 1 hour. That is huge regulation. I mean, if you're going to have 1,500 acts and 69,000 compliances, how are you ever going to get companies to generate jobs? Everybody will automate instead of hiring more. So if you get the regulation down and invest health and education, the two infrastructure areas, social infrastructure, you've done well on roads and other things. These are the two infrastructure areas that will actually bring you both the jobs and the growth and the health and improve the quality of the health and quality of the human capital in India.
Brilliant.
Well, let me get in Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, I know you are a pragmatic man. I know you are a suspended Congress leader, but you're a pragmatic man. And this country, despite the bad run, the bad run that we've seen in the second wave of COVID, stop laughing, Mohandas Pai. What did I say? I mean,
Nothing.
I'm just putting the.
Man, I like it.
I'm just separating the man from the political party. So.
He's pragmatic because he's suspended.
Now,
if he was in Congress, he wouldn't be pragmatic.
Well, Sanjay Jha, these are not my views. These are the views of the panelists. So please, I'm coming back. You're a pragmatic man, and I'm asking you, even today, a large part of this country, does it or does it not believe that the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, is still the best man for the job?
Yeah.
There may have been a little bit of, bad blood because of the second wave, the unprepared way we seem to be looking for ventilators, hospital beds, medicines and all that. Yes, I'm not putting that aside. It's been a bad run. It has been a nightmarish time over at least 4 to 6 weeks that we saw. But the quick turnaround was also possible only because, this is a man who does it with hands on the job, all hands on the deck. Not many can do crisis management the way Mr. Modi can do and has demonstrated in doing. Do you believe that is the feeling that the country still believes in his, or do you think there are alternatives which can be equally viable for citizens of India?
Navika, frankly, when the first wave was tapering off, at that point of time, a lot of us who have been critical of Mr. Modi's politics or the ideology of the BJP were giving him the benefit of doubt because, yes, I mean, this was an unprecedented crisis and a health emergency that the world wasn't prepared for. I mean, who would have expected a virus to, kind of completely devastate the entire universe, kill people, and finish off the economies worse than even the Great Depression? So I do believe at that point of time, to cut him the slack was a responsibility of everyone, including the opposition. And I think most of them agreed that in the first stage, I thought the government seemed to be holding its balance reasonably well. I think where Mr. Modi and the government really goofed up, and I believe it's a monumental blunder they made, was to believe that the crisis was over. And I think that early self-congratulation is what pushed India into the second wave. And I can tell you something, Navika, if you look at the hard data, the number of people who have actually been inoculated in the age of 60 plus or 18 to 45, you do realize we are not over the hump yet. And therefore, Mr. Modi today, if he's facing the heat, I think is totally legitimate, because ultimately I'm a believer in that old school of philosophy that the buck stops at the top, and it should. And if you follow Narendra Modi's career, he is somebody who, this is one thing that I've always told even my Congress leaders, that they change track. Mr. Modi understands when things have gone awry, and he does a dramatic U-turn. A great example is Manrega. He trashed it in Parliament, and then his government has embraced it like no other, increasing the budgetary outlays because you recognize, hang on, this is a practical thing to do. So when you call me pragmatic, well, in a great number of ways, I think Mr. Modi is more pragmatic than I am. But I think the challenge for this government, Navika, is going to be now in the next 6 months. I'll tell you why. The government needs to actually empower the poor and those who are on the borderline by giving them more cash checks and direct transfers. For that, you need money. For that, you need to run a fiscal deficit, which will put a pressure on prices, and that is inflation. no political party wants to go to the election next year with inflation. And the problem is the crude oil prices have begun to rise, which is why you see petrol and diesel prices rising. So I think Mr. Modi's government is now really going to face the litmus test. Will you fund the poor because they need to survive and they're suffering, and you have to? And on the other hand, the oil prices are rising. But this is the real test moment. And I always believe that in calm waters, every captain
Yes,
every ship is a great captain. That was
this is the test moment. Challenges are plenty on the economy side, on the health side. Many people have not emphasized on education, but I'm sure many parents are today with me in being extremely worried about the way our education system is going on, and online education is a must. India needs a plan. There is a plan in Mr. Modi's mind how to implement it. Yes, Suhail, say.
This channel and your program is an honest program. Let's be honest. The Prime Minister is to blame for what happened in the second wave. Let's not mollycoddle. Let's not lie to each other. If we gave him the credit for handling the first wave, we must put the blame on his shoulders for what happened in the second wave. And what tragically happened, I'm not worried about the oxygen ventilator. No, 1 minute. Vaccination was a massive, massive screw up. Let's be honest. See, give a man the right feedback for him to then take the right course correction. Number two, my feeling here, Navika, is that the communication, which I harped on even in my earlier remarks, has been completely warped. There has been zero transparency qua the vaccination, zero transparency in terms of roles and responsibilities of the federal government qua the state governments. These things he must take responsibility for. Please do not praise unnecessarily, because then you are letting the man down yourself. And I will finally say, do we have an alternative?
Mr. Suhail said, it's not my job to praise one or the other. We are discussing a cabinet reshuffle. The Prime Minister knows. The Prime Minister knows, as even Sanjay Jha will admit today, he's more pragmatic than all of us put together. Having said that, well, the facts are before him, and he has feedback systems. He has feedback systems within the government, outside the government. The media is there reading out and telling him the facts. The fact is, India needs a plan. India needs an implementation plan. And India needs transparency. Up nahi to kab is what the country is asking tonight. Because the time is now, and the Prime Minister's cabinet reshuffle will surely keep all of these issues in mind when it happens. When it will happen, we'll let you know. We'll follow this story. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on this debate number 1. On the other side, Twitter in a fix. That debate on the other side.